So my study abroad experience first happened in Germany, and that's where I studied abroad for a year. I mainly stayed in a town called Duisburg and Basel, two places. And before that, I stayed with a language camp in Hedersleben, more so East Germany. But before all that, I had never traveled. I had barely been outside of the state of Texas, where I'm from. And this whole idea of being in a foreign place was totally new to me. And even the whole experience of getting on a plane, having to go through TSA, having to go abroad was totally new for me. So when I first joined my program, when I was selected as an exchange student and youth ambassador, I had a few expectations, but I really had I had no idea what I was getting into, to be honest. But anyways, I when we first landed in Germany, we ended up staying in a monastery for about 3 weeks, and that's where we had language camp. So every day I would wake up, go to class about 7, 8 a.m., and have language camp or language classes for a few hours, and then in the middle of the day we would have coffee and kuchen time. So this is coffee and cake time, something that is totally foreign to our American culture, right? No one really takes dedicated time to have like coffee and cake and communion with other people, except if you work in the office, maybe it's kind of like a workplace thing, but it's not really a community oriented thing, right? So there's this idea of coffee kuchen in Germany that I was totally awakened to, and it felt like something that I should have had all my whole life, but I didn't get to experience until now, studying abroad. So we would have that, and then in the afternoon we would have free time to go and venture out into the town. So our program was very open and encouraging of us to actually go out into the town and talk with locals, to help further our language experience, to also help further our own and exchange and diplomacy and international experience overall. So we would go out and speak with the locals. I remember one there was one kid who owned his father owned a farm there, and so he would give us honey out randomly, at no cost. Honey is very expensive in the U.S., like $7 easily. But he would just hand out honey. They would sometimes give us apples and everything. They were feeding us good at the language camp, but yeah, he would just be like really open and friendly. We would also go and visit this local donor place, doner kebab. Doner kebab is basically kind of like a gyro or gyro, and has like meat in it. So usually lamb, chicken, maybe beef, and then it has lettuce and some sauce, and it's kind of like this Greek wrap. Basically, it's so good. It's basically like the staple product or staple fast food in Germany. So if you ever travel to Germany, make sure that you have one, especially if you travel to Berlin. It's it's one thing you got to get. Okay, it's part of the experience. So every day we would do basically that, and we would learn the language gradually. Like I said, I was a beginner. I didn't speak the conversational level of German that I do now, but everything was basically learning on the go, and that's what you have to be open to when you study abroad. Is sometimes just learning on the go and willing to be able to put yourself out there. I was an introvert then. I was an introvert all throughout high school and middle school and elementary, my whole school experience. So I really had to force myself to go outside my comfort zone. So if that's you, then just get ready. um, it may be a little bit painful at first, but eventually you get out of you grow out of it, to a certain degree, and it's one skill to be had, because if you're gonna keep yourself from if you're going to hold yourself back just because you don't want to be seen or be heard, or um, feel like you're going to be embarrassed speaking with other people, then what other opportunities are you missing out on if you have that mindset, right? So be willing to put yourself out there to get outside your comfort zone. Some things may seem a little bit strange at first, but if it's not hurting your own self harm, if it's gonna change your life in a better way, then try to be open to it. But anyways, we stay there for a couple of weeks, and then we get our host family placements at the end of the language camp. So actually, some students found out sooner than others where they would be placed. That's with their host families. But I found mine's out a little bit closer to the end. So I got my placement in Duisburg, Germany. That's where I stayed for about 2 months. I stayed with the host family. My host parents were like sports athletes, like literally. They loved the gym. They would be at the gym like hours, 3, 4 hours. They literally had a gym in the basement area of their house, or maybe it was the same floor. I can't remember. German houses are built a little bit different, where it's really built vertically, and in Texas they're built horizontally, right? Because there's a lot of land. But they had almost like a 3-story type house. It sounds like really big, but it's just a vertical house. Okay, so my room was upstairs. They would have the gym, I think, on the main floor where the kitchen is, and then a basement cellar. And yeah, they were very serious about their triathlons, about going to swimming every day, and um, you know, huge fitness gurus. I want to say they could have been gurus. Uh, so I stayed with them for about 2 months. That was a great experience. I stayed at the Europa Schule in Germany, and met some friends, made some friends there, um, for for a short time, and then after that, then I had my second host family for the rest of the period in Basel, Germany. You may have one host family, you may have two. It just depends. A lot of host families are volunteers, or you know, they are maybe on a wait list, as far as we were told, and that's that's the situation. So you could be placed potentially anywhere. Just depends on their program and the place, the city that you're going to, the country. So I was placed in Duisburg the rest of the time. Basel the rest of the time. Basel was a lot more exclusive. Really, no one in my town spoke good English like that, except for a few students. So it was totally different from staying in Duisburg, where there were so many international people that you could get by speaking English. And my host's mother there, she would speak English to me all the time because she was trying to better her English. But what you don't want to do is have have that happen if you're trying to learn the language. You want to always tell them, bitte sprechen Sie in auf Deutsch. Please speak in German, because a lot of people want to practice their English when you go abroad. So that can happen anywhere you go, whether you're studying abroad in Germany, Japan, Korea, uh, you know, uh, Spain, South America, anywhere you go. Then a lot of people want to flex their English skills, because it's a second language to them. They have to remember to tell them, "Hey, please speak in the foreign language." And when you need it, then you can always revert back, right? So I stayed in Basel for the rest of the time. I stayed in a small school, I say exclusive because there it was a very small town that I stayed in. We had maybe 1,000 people, 2,000. I'm not sure. Um, People in that small town outside of Basel. So Basel was the closest major city, and it was only maybe 200,000 people. I'm not sure. 20,000, I can't remember. But there wasn't that many people. So not a lot of people spoke English. And that was totally a challenge, but it was a great chance for me to actually improve my German and actually be forced to speak German, right? So my host parents barely spoke English. They can understand some, but that was the case. For my second host family, I did have host siblings. And so I remember I met my host brother, my first host brother, Malta, and my other host brother, Ralph. And we all went down to Dusseldorf for a main trip. So it was me, my host parents, and my brothers, my host brothers. That was a really cool experience because I saw Dusseldorf, which is the land of like startups, and it's progressive, it's modern, it's also like a fashion city. It's a very cool city. I love Dusseldorf. And this is where I saw another side of Germany as well, because I was used to staying in a village. So it's different from Duisburg. Duisburg is very industrial. Basel is more like a kind of countryside, village-ish, very close to the Dutch border. So we would take small trips into the Netherlands for a day trip. We would be on the border. And finally, for my birthday, when my birthday came around in the spring, then my host family and I traveled to Amsterdam. So I had the choice between Amsterdam or Brussels at the time. And since I love art, since I'm an artist, then I definitely chose Amsterdam when I was asked. So very cool experience. Amsterdam was super rainy when we got there, but it cleared up in the middle of the day. So the first part of the day we went to Anne Frank's house. Um, totally worth it. And then in the afternoon, then we ate lunch. We just walked around and everything, and then we pass to go back to Germany. Then we passed through Belgium, Lutish. We passed through Lutish, Germany. Oh, sorry, Lutish, Belgium. So everyone was speaking French, and we grabbed some food there. I didn't go about Belgian waffles then, but still very cool to be in uh, that culture, different architecture and everything. And then we made it down to Aachen. So it was almost like three countries in one day. And when you study abroad, that's very much so possible for you to, if you're on like a more of the inside of a country, meaning like the outer skirts, basically to travel to a couple of countries or one, two countries, in a day if you're close enough to the border. So Germany was a fantastic place. I know not a lot of people would choose it as a first choice. For me, then, I didn't even know about traveling to Germany because in America we're taught about the history of World War II and everything, and it makes us very skeptical about traveling to different places, right? Because of our history, well, because of what we learn in school, our history in school, and the media that tells us about different countries makes us hesitant to go abroad. But actually, it was the total opposite experience. When I was abroad, I actually learned a few things. I learned one, you can't really trust what the media tells you 100%. You can gain some insight or some information, but you never know how true it is, and you can never take it as a true full reflection of how a country is, right? I'm sure that people in on the opposite side, people who live abroad, they probably look at us like, hey, like what is all this stuff happening? What is this? What is all this happening in the United States? You guys have guns. You guys have it's not safe. You guys can't even walk outside, right? It's the same exact idea. And when I studied abroad, that was one thing that I realized is it's a mindset on both sides. It's the perceptions that you have on both ends that contribute to how you view a country or view a culture. So when you go abroad, that is a firsthand experience of how of your own experience, own personal experience that you can draw from to actually understand a country. Um, Two, I actually did awaken to the mishaps, and that's a light word for it. Mishaps and problems or growth points that we actually do have in America, right? Things as far as the safety. Like I felt so safe in Germany. I felt safer than my home city. My home city is relatively safe outside of Dallas, Texas, but still, Germany was very safe. I didn't have this natural anxiety that we do in the United States about like getting close to people when you're walking, in the city square, or when you're walking when you if you do happen to walk around, right? All of us drive cars, so our car is kind of like our protection barrier from other people. We also We also like stay a distance from each other, and there's just this natural anxiety that we have in the United States, even anxiety around speaking with one another because we have certain misconceptions around race, around religion, putting people in boxes basically. That happens a lot here in um, in the United States, and as opposed to Europe. In Europe, it was very much so an open-minded point of view because there's so many international people. Europeans are very used to traveling around to different countries, or people from foreign countries traveling in. In Duisburg, it was one of the major international cities or immigrant cities. So there was a lot of Eastern Europeans from uh, Belarus, from Poland, from the Czech Republic. There were also some African culture there. Um, you know, um, Basically immigrants who were transplants or expats in that city. Um, there were so it attracted a lot of international folks. Also, a lot of Turkish people in Duisburg. So in Duisburg, it's not as highly looked upon as a place like Berlin or Munich. So some Germans know Duisburg as like the kind of roughed up side of Germany. I mean, not as roughed up as here in the States, but because it's a little bit rugged. It's a little bit rugged, but that's what I actually learned to love about it because I also thought it was kind of ugly at first. But you learn to fall in love with cities. So for what they are, you know. So that was an incredible experience, and it really opened my eyes to different ways of looking at the world, different ways of looking at people. You really learn to just appreciate people for who they are, and you learn to appreciate the culture. You also learn to be more flexible with people from different cultures, right? And it's a tremendously valuable experience. It's going to put you further ahead um, than your other peers as far as being able to communicate with other people, which is a huge skill set to be able to de-escalate issues, to be able to build rapport with other people. A huge skill that can be utilized in both your personal life and your career life as well. So that's some of the value that you get out of a study abroad experience. Um, you also get to experience a sense of community as well. I made friends in Germany through school. Through going by going to classes every day, and sitting in the math class, sometimes asking for help. I know a lot of people ask about making friends and being able to connect with people, but if you're placed in a place like Germany and even South Korea, my brother, he lives in South Korea as well, and it's very easy for him to make friends. Um, I just traveled to Europe this summer. I was in the UK, and I made a friend at the hostel that I stayed in. She was from Japan. A very, very friendly girl, very classy. And you may have that same exact experience as well, where you realize, hey, it's actually easier making friends abroad than it is in my home country. Especially in the US, people are a little bit more distant, or people have this misconception about you sometimes. So that's some of the true value that you get from the study abroad experience. And for my own personal study abroad experience, then I wouldn't take it back. Like I wouldn't take it back for the world. Except I would probably have gone on the more young professional side of the program, because for my program there was actually an internship aspect, and I'll speak about that more in the next part of this mini course. And you also learn about it when I speak about my workshops, my work abroad workshops, and everything. But I do wish that I would have had an internship or work component, because that actually would have put me further ahead in my career. There's something invaluable about getting actual work experience in a foreign country, whether that's simply volunteering abroad, or having an internship that is perhaps paid. Sometimes internships are paid abroad, sometimes they're not. But in any case, if you can get that experience, it's truly valuable because employers will look at you and say, hey, this person actually has experience in that country. Let's say a company like Trivago or a company like Expedia or whatnot. Companies that have locations in different parts of the world, maybe they want to hire you in the States as, let's say, a customer support rep, and they need a French speaking person. Then they might ask you, hey, do you know what this market is like in France? Can you speak the language? Are you able to communicate with customers? Do you understand like the issues that they're going through and their perspective? Then you could say, yes, I understand because I actually studied abroad there. I worked abroad there, or I interned there, or I taught there. And that could be credible experience that you can build upon when you're pitching to recruiters or hiring managers. That I can get into the nitty gritty of in my part two or in my work abroad workshop. Make sure that you're registered for these workshops and masterclasses because they're truly valuable. I really like to give you guys true value, like even resources, special um, educational resources that you guys can actually get ahead and spend way, way less time researching. Because I know it's a headache researching for jobs and for scholarships and researching the best country to figure out if this is even a right choice or path, you know. Uh, so if you feel that it's right for you, if you feel that this is going to take you further, then go through with it. There's nothing wrong in taking a chance and utilizing that for your college career or your professional career in general. If you guys have any questions, then make sure you comment below. Make sure that you're also following me on my expat era on Instagram. And I can also tag that below or write that in the course material. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, again, comment here or comment on the Instagram page. Make sure that you're also following that and following the Facebook so that you can also ask questions there. I try to check and review those when something comes up. But that was my study abroad experience. So today, I've traveled to Germany almost at least 3, 4 times now. It's really crazy. Just to revisit for different reasons, whether that's I've taught abroad there. Um, I've also organized an international event there. I actually did that earlier this summer in June. So I actually hosted a Careers Across Seas workshop for some German young professionals. There was a lot of internationals there, but mainly German and American professionals, young professionals as well. And I've also studied abroad there one more time. Again, I received a grant to go back there for a technology and digital art program in Germany. So I've been back there several times. I've also traveled to other countries now, including Poland, Spain, Israel, and then some other countries for leisure. I've traveled to Cancun. You guys probably know my background as well. After I studied abroad, then I also went into different set of careers, but mainly events and tourism or travel. I ended up working in the event sector and working as a flight attendant, even just so that I can travel a little bit more. And it's all because of my study abroad experience. So you never know where your own travels can take you as long as you're open to a world of opportunities. So that's it for today, guys. I will see you in the part two version of this course. So make sure to register for that. I made it super available, super affordable for students like you. So it's totally worth the investment if you are seriously considering studying abroad, whether you're a bachelor student, a master's student, or a gap year student, just looking to gain that unique international experience. So, firstly, you've decided, yes, I do want to study abroad this upcoming year. Secondly, you've decided on which country you want to travel to, and maybe even the city and university. And lastly, you've decided on the program that you want to go with, whether that's CIEE, Education First, or AIFS, or some of these other study abroad programs online that you've Googled research. Well, lastly, the key question is, how exactly do I fund all of this? How exactly do I travel abroad and study abroad and make it work, right? How do I get that dollar behind all of this so that I can actually make this a feasible trip, and study abroad with less worry, right? Well, the first thing I want to dive into here is travel finances. And travel finances are so important, especially when it comes to study abroad, because this is a period in your life where you're focused on your studies, right? It's a first and long term investment, that you have into your own education and skill sets and career path. So finances is a big thing to structure out first before you go abroad. But and before I deep dive into this, this is not any financial advice. Please consult a finance consultant or tax consultant. But from my research, this is just some tidbits that I've learned and that I've learned is truly beneficial in your journey. I wish that I kind of set this up beforehand and learned about different costs that you may have and the different resources that you can use, travel, bank accounts, and savings plans and things like that that can help you save money and make money along the way, right? So I go more into this in my part two of this mini course, but right now I just want to give a brief overview so that you can get an idea. Um, Again, nitty gritty is in the second part of this course. Please make sure to subscribe to the channels that I have so that you can make full use of all that I'm talking about, guys, because it's going to save you tremendous amount of research and time. We don't have a lot of time nowadays. It's a go society. So let's get into it. So we have the travel finances. First thing you want to do is, once you've decided on a country, whether that's the UK, France, Japan. I'm sorry, there's a typo there for the UK, but you need to find out what exactly are the living expenses like in that country. So, like, the first thing that you need to worry about is, where exactly are you going to stay? Is that with a host family, um, where you get to save a little bit of money, or is that with a in a dorm that the campus provides? I know that when I studied abroad in Germany, I stayed with a host family, so that was a tremendous help to saving and lowering down costs, but that may not be the same circumstance for everyone. I even met when I studied abroad for the second time. I know a girl. She, for her university studies, um, in Berlin, she actually stayed at a hostel, and somehow for the way this finances worked, they would fund her hostel stay, and she would go out in the evening times to buy food and stuff, and then they would also have different sites where she studied out at internationally. So the next summer she would also stay in a hotel or dorm style, but in the United States. But when she was in Europe, she was in a hostel. So it's different stories for everyone, and it just depends on what program that you're going on. This is one of the reasons why I strongly advise on a consultation or mentorship, to ask questions about these things, because everyone's journey is a little bit different, especially regarding, college credits, regarding what transfers over, regarding, where you may be staying, how to finance where you're staying. Is it a hostel? Is it a dorm? Is it with a host family or whatnot? Or does the host family even charge you? Um, so those are all things to consider. Um, and the first thing that you want to look at is the rent and living costs of the country, potentially. You always want to have a backup, even if you are staying with the host family, to just kind of have an idea of what the costs are like. So in the UK, for example, they say the average rent is 600 to 2,000. Now, from my experience being in the UK, and in London is super expensive. I would say 600 is on the very, very generously low budget in. That's probably with like 3 to 4 other roommates. A lot of people in the UK do that, and it comes to about £600, £800 per month or so. Um, for if you're living in your own apartment, you're the type of person you don't want to live with other people, then it can easily be £2,000. Okay, and you want to make sure that you're also converting these uh, your the currency over, so that actually makes sense. So £600 is not $600, obviously. It's about it's way over it's over that. Okay. And the rates change, so that's why I don't know it at the top of hand. It may be around 700 to $800. It just fluctuates, right? So that's one of the things. Where exactly are you staying? What are the costs like in that country, to have an emergency, if you need to stay in a hotel for a night or something for, you know whatever that comes up. Are you able to cover costs? Is that €50? Is it €80? Is it €10? Can you get by? Secondly, is food. What is the food expense like? How much does it cost for a bottle of water? How much does it cost for a meal plate? Is it €10? Is it $3 for some water? That gives you a good idea as to how expensive things are. I always ask when I travel. I always ask, how much is a bottle of water? Because that can give you a great indicator as to how affordable the country is, or if you're willing to spend that. If they say like, oh, it's €7 for a bottle of water, I'm like, where? Um, and don't be afraid to splurge on yourself at times, because that's part of the whole experience. You don't want to be too cheap. Never, like, if you're going to be traveling abroad for a year, you want to have a little bit of a savings so that you can really enjoy your time and buy some souvenirs, or some, even go on some special trips or experiences while you're abroad, to really take advantage of the time that you're there. So one of the things I wish I did before I went abroad is to have a little bit more of a savings build, or have done a little bit more side gigging or part time job before I left, because there's always something that you're going to see while you're abroad, whether that's in France, Japan, um, Ghana, France, the places that I mentioned here, that you're going to really want. It's going to be a little bit pricey, but if you have that savings built up beforehand, then you don't have to worry about it as much, and you can take advantage of that time. Okay, but then if not, then you may have to skip on it and go the next few years, when you have a break. But who knows if that experience is there again. I remember I really wanted to go on a trip to France with my with my school. So I was placed in like the 10th grade, 11th grade program or something, in Germany. And there was like this one class trip to France or the UK. And the UK is really expensive. So I knew it was at least a couple of €100 plus maybe the flights. And I couldn't go on that trip because it was way too expensive, out of my budget. Yes, my mother was sitting a little bit of funds each month, but it was not enough to go on those really nice trips that I wanted. So I really had to be meager with my finances. Today, I always leave enough to have something really nice that I want to enjoy, um, you know, for yourself. So that could be food, that could be a trip. It all depends. Uh, so yeah, firstly, the rent. Secondly, the food, or how much does food cost each month? What is something? What is a snack that's your go-to? How much does that cost? Because it's most likely that's going to be a recurring expense for you. I know for me, I love nuts. So nuts are pretty expensive here in the US. They can easily be $7 to $10. But going abroad in Germany, it was not so expensive for me. It was maybe like $3 or $4. So that's going to be a reoccurring expense for you. So figure out what those things are, especially your favorite snacks. Um, Lastly is transportation. How much does transportation cost? And is there a transportation program in the city that you live in? When I was abroad in Germany, then there was like a bus ticket called the sugar ticket. So that was like around 40 euros. I can't remember if it's per month or per year. But that allowed me to travel and go to school, take the train to school every day without as much of a hassle. Now, there was a time that I didn't have my Shoko ticket, and actually, I got caught by the ticket master, um, the guy who comes in the train and he checks everyone's ticket. I got caught by him. Luckily, he let me go, and I only had to pay like €2.50. But that's another good expense to know about, just in case you happen to not have the rider pass that you need. So figure out what the costs are if you don't happen to have that ride pass for your school. Okay. And then there's other expenses. There's airport fees. There's transportation fees once you land from the airport. That's usually on average across the world. I'm going to tell you from personal experience being a flight attendant. That's usually a little bit higher when you're traveling from the airport, just in general, because it's such a strong need. That can be an expense as well. So, what I want you guys to do is firstly to decide what exactly is your plan now. Are you wanting to pick up a part-time job, whether that's working at a local shop, at a hospitality restaurant, maybe at a cookie shop or Starbucks? What exactly is the side job that you want to get if you can get a job? Then, if you can't, think about what scholarships am I going to look for since I don't have a job or part-time job that I am working in. So think about scholarships. Start researching that. Um, Again, if you look in my next course and the part two of this course, then you're going to figure out about special scholarships that I already have available and have done ton of research on, and you can utilize that to really lower your expenses by potentially thousands of dollars. So go ahead and register for that course. Um, but think about it. Research some scholarships that you can come by. Um, Secondly, because I know for me that I wasn't allowed to work when I was in school in high school, so I had to do a lot of scholarship research. When I was abroad, I had to start my own side gig, so that's another thing. Secondly, is think about your savings. Where's your savings at right now? Who's potentially going to help fund you? Is it your parents? Is there some family members that you can ask to help chip in for emergency savings? Where is your savings at now? Is it $200, or is it 500, 600? And how much of that might I be using? Um, And then lastly, thinking about a side hustle. What's something that I can do online? Because the key benefit of online is that you can do it online from anywhere. So there may be tax implications for that. Who knows? That's why I say consult a tax consultant or financial consultant for that. But doing work online on websites like Fiverr, Upwork is a great way to earn money. I know even I worked on Fiverr, doing a photography side gig to also help fund my travels as well. And I've gotten paid for my artwork as well, so that really helped. So what I want to leave you guys with today is actually two rewards codes or referral codes that you guys can use to save and also discount your travel expenditures. One is working with Capital One. Capital One has a great credit card. I know credit card is like a zinger word, But credit cards is a great way to save on expenses. If you're going to be spending anyways, then you might as well spend and get some rewards at the same time. So Capital One provides they provide a cashback reward system for one of their cards. Right now it's at 1%, but it may change in the future. It also helps discount on travel, some travel expenses. When I went to Germany, even for a second time, I used that Capital One credit card, and it was a tremendous help for international fees that you may usually come up on your bank. So I've banked with another major U.S. bank before, and I had no idea about international fees, and man, do they rack up. So, instead of having $20 deducted from international fees per month, you can have $0 deducted if you use the right card. And that card is going to be linked below. So check that out. So don't let a credit card, I know it's a Zinga word, especially when you're fresh out of high school, or maybe you've used a credit card already. But especially using this card is really beneficial for getting one, cash back, two, getting rewards of money that you're already spending, and three, it's just it's a very versatile card. So I really like it, and you could be building your credit score at the same time with it if you're using it responsibly. So that's linked below. If you really like this course, you really like the information I'm giving you, then please go ahead and use that course or use the referral link to your benefit. I love giving out a special referral or discount codes to my students who really are adamant about working with me. Okay, so the second one is a savings account. You definitely want to have a good savings account. Most savings account in the States, they don't have a good type of appreciation, for the lack of a better word. A lot of the APY is like 0.001 or 0.002. I know there's one bank that I have right now. It's like 0.003 or something. It's awful. Basically, what that means is that the money that you have in a bank, the savings that you have in a bank, is not growing in interest. There's no benefit that you're getting for having your money stashed in the bank. Um, there's inflation happening and everything. So you want to get the most value out of your money. If you're going to stash your money in a bank somewhere, you might as well be getting a little bit of rewards, like I said, one, or two, cash back, or three, a little bit of interest on that. So there's banks out there that's offering, uh, 1.3%, 2%, 3.3%. But for this savings, then it's a lot better than those. It's a lot higher. So I want you guys to go ahead and check it out. It's through Raisin. It's called the banking is called Raisin, and they have different savings account, and it's really really beneficial. Um, Savings account that I'm using now, I wish I knew about years ago, to actually save money and actually make money while I'm traveling abroad and going different places. So go ahead and take advantage of that. Use the links below. Use it for your savings account. Use it for your travel expenditure. And I will see you guys in the part 2 of this course.